This week we are going to put the top on our tunnels. You can see in the same way we did with the small diorama, I've attached the backboard with some screws, and the same again on the side. Now this side isn't going to be this high, I will cut it down, but just for now we've actually got a piece of board we can put in there. And then you see coming to the front, we've then got that backboard there that obviously we're going to have to paint or maybe put a printed picture on or something for the background. But this now helps me to position the mountings in the corner to make sure that I'm going up to the boards. I've put a little test section down of the tarmac, so we'll just see how that looks when it's on the board and on the clay there. It's drying off quite nicely now, so hopefully it will look quite good, and then I can start planning where the roads are going. Well, we're continuing with our ballasting, so I've ballasted all the way down this section here, ballasted all the way down to the tunnel. I completed the ballasting on this inside siding here and this outside bridge going up to the bridge, this little section going up to here, and also I did this little section here. So the ballasting's coming on. Still got quite a bit to do, but we are getting there. On the inside of the tunnel, I remembered that I hadn't covered up that little section there. So as you look through the actual tunnel entrance, or the ground one, you might be able to see just in there where there was a hole there. So now I've covered it all up. Oh yeah, there you go. Now I've covered all the hole up. I'm going to paint that black, of course. So that's just a bit of tissue paper and some plaster. And I've done the same thing in the tunnel over the other side as well. So again, you can see in here. So this particular tunnel wall, that was a hole there before. So now I've covered it all in, plastered it up. So next thing to do is once that's all dry, we're going to paint it. So we plastered over this section, the hole. So now I'm going to paint it black so that then it blends in with the rest of the tunnel. All nicely painted, so when you look through the tunnels you won't be able to see any of the white plaster. When you're ballasting points, you need to be very careful. Now remember, the trains have got to come through all of these, the wheels have got to come through these, the wheels have got to go through these sections, so you need to be very careful you don't get all the stones caught up inside this mechanism. So you have to be put a little bit less ballast, not as much as we put everywhere else, and just gently put it in, gently brush it in. Make sure you keep the stones out of the moving part, so that then check that it moves, and then put some little bit of the glue water in there to hold the stones in. So we'll do a little bit of that now. Well, I've put some ballast in all of these points now, all of these ones all over here, all of this section. So I've put in the glue. I'm going to wait and see how it all dries out. Obviously making sure that the points will still be okay. There's no stone stuck in there, not too much glue in the points as well. And yeah, I'll have to come back another day once it's all dry and then just sort of clean it out, see how it looks. I'm going to have to tidy up some areas as well. There's some gaps and things that I haven't put any stones in. So I'll work on that next time because that's all wet now. We have our ballasting completed on this section at the back as well. So that's all been glued in. So once that's dry, again, we'll give that a quick clean over. Check there's no little stones stuck in the rails. And yeah, they'll be ready to try out a train on it. Well, I'm not particularly happy with how this back has come out. The grass wasn't that great. So I have my applicator. I will put on some different types of grass across the back, some different colours. We've got our sort of spring green that we can put on. I've got some wild meadow, a bit of dead grass as well that we can also put on just to bring up some just different blends and colours and make it look a little bit better. So we start with a bit of spray glue and then we will put our application on. First thing we do is sprinkle a few bits of our oak leaves that we've put on. So get a bit of ground cover. Make a little bit of difference. Then we'll put on our, this is dead grass, 1mm dead grass.
put on a bit of Wild Meadow, 2mm this is, in a couple of places. We get some Spring 2mm as well. A bit more glue. Oh, that looks a bit better already. Okay, I'm struggling to get in those corners there, so I may need to put the layout down so that I can drop it in. I don't know if you can see that, but that looks a lot better than it did. Well, that looks a bit more consistent. It still looks a bit the same colour all the way across, so I think once I start adding in some bushes and some tufts of grass and things, then actually it'll be okay. So I'm going to leave that for now. I don't want to keep playing with it. I'm going to glue the bridge down, so I'm going to paint PVA all along the bottom of all of the bridge piers, and then we're going to weight it down so that it will hold in place. So I'm just going to paint all this glue on. Try not to put too much on so it all runs all down the edges, but enough on to make it stick. And I'm going to do that all the way along and then push the bridge down. So we've glued our bridge in place. I've just weighted it down for about 10 minutes or so with these pots of paint and things, so it's a bit heavier. So hopefully that will help the glue to set nicely and the bridge will hold in place. Before I put the tops on the hills, I just want to make sure the trains are running okay through the tunnels, so there's no little stones stuck on the track or it derails the trains. So I've just run the little train here, just around all of the track, up and down, all through the tunnels, so everything seems to be working okay. It does seem like the ballasting is going on forever and ever. I've got some more bits to do here. Another little straight over here as well. So still a few things to tidy up and sort out. And of course I'm leaving where my stations are going at the moment, but I may actually do some ballasting on there. Well, it's taken me quite a while to get to this stage, but I think I'm just about ready to put the layer on top of here. I've still got one little bit to do there, but I'll do that I think after I've put the top on. We ought to put the lid on as well, keep any dirt and muck from going in there. So we'll just put that lid carefully on the top. And there he is, done. So that's going to dry this week now, and then I can start carving off around these other edges once that's all dry. In preparation for the top piece on here, I've glued in this section here. So I'm going to put some plaster cloth over here a bit later on, just to cover it over. There's some big gaps here that I hadn't quite realised, and here as well. I put a little bit of filler in there just to hold it for the moment, just so it keeps it in place with the glue. But yeah, basically once this is all dried out, I'll put the top piece on this side. I'm looking to glue on the other top of the hill, but before I put it on, I just cut out this little road section here. So as you can see, it's just cut into the hillside, so that the road that comes up the hill here then will carry on around and then go up the next section onto that top piece. So we'll look to glue this section on today. I'll probably do it a little bit later so I can leave it overnight. I've got a few other things to do first. Now this section is glued on, I'm just going to carve around the edges to try and just bring it back a little bit in line with the rest of the hill. So we're working on our other tunnel entrance here. So I'm just going to put in that tunnel portal, if I can get it in, just so we can see how it looks. So maybe you see the hill is coming down here. So maybe I need to cut a little bit more away. I've cut quite a lot away already. It doesn't look too bad. So it sort of comes into the hill like that. So I need to clean away all the debris so I can see what it looks like a bit better. But actually that doesn't look too bad. I'm going to take a little bit more off of this side. And then I've got to build up this wall here actually, so I may need to come back a little bit further here. So cut this back a little bit and I can put another piece in there. So I'll look at that in a sec. So I'll put the other portal in as well, if I can fit that in, which I don't know if I can actually. I think now I've got that other piece on there, I can't get that in to the hole. Okay, so I'm going to have to cut a hole out of here so I can get this portal in. I'm going to need to cut this section as well, so I want to cut a hillside up here. Remember, we've got a board on this side, so I'm going to cut a hill up to the board, but in both directions. So this will slant in that way and across that way as well. So I'll work on that next. So I'm going to draw my line roughly where I want it. So I think I want to start about there, and we're going to go down something like this. That's the way we're going to be going. Down there, and then we'll cut that first, and then we'll go across this side, the embankment. So the embankment's going to go up something like that. Okay, I give up. I'm going to go and get a longer knife. You can see we glued that top section a week ago, and can you see the glue's still wet, so it's not actually dried properly. It's stuck down, so it's not going to move anywhere, but it's interesting that it's going to take, obviously, takes probably quite a long time to dry out. Now over in this section, I could extend this hill out a little bit, so it makes it a more gentle slope. So I may well do that rather than trying to cut that down a bit steeper. So just extend the hill out here slightly. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.